Here we are at what I believe is part 5 of this XS project. This is where we're at. This is where I left it last time. Got things sort of put together here. And I want to finish this up today, but I need to get seals and valves put back into the head. And since the video showing what happens in the head before wasn't very good, things at least look a little shiny on the valve surfaces, so hopefully that's a good sign. Once again, I started this project with the best of intentions, and I have run out of patience. So there's a lot of things that I should be replacing if I wanted to make this a tip-top motor, and I'm simply just not going to do it. I have no idea what caused this engine to get pulled from a bike in the first place. So I'm just going to throw it back together and see what I get out of it. I know that the crank will need to be replaced or redone soon. It doesn't have a lot of life left in it. It's at the very limit of, or the very edges of the acceptable wear limits. And the valve springs are right on the edge of having to be replaced. So those are two pretty big things that I'm throwing back into the bike simply because I don't feel like waiting anymore. I don't want to wait for parts. I don't want to spend any more money on this thing at the moment. I was intending to take the guts of this engine and put them all into the other case that I had, because I was convinced for some reason that the case I had that was a seized engine had matching numbers with my chopper that I already built. I was wrong. The seized engine actually doesn't match any of the frames I have, whereas this engine does match a frame that I have sitting in my yard. So I wasted all my time taking apart the other engine, and I probably wouldn't have taken this engine apart nearly as much as I had if I had realized that mistake earlier. I don't know why I thought that. It's been probably 10 years since I looked at the serial numbers though, so I made a mistake. But I had no idea what was going on with this engine, and I didn't really want to try and start it without opening it up first. But now I've got it open, I've got it going back together, and I know it's not in great shape. But I'm going to put it back together and see what we've got. I thought that I was going to be able to measure the links on the cam chain and be able to see if it was any good from there. It turns out the manual doesn't have any information for that, so I definitely should have checked the timing to see if the chain had stretched too much or not before I tore it apart. But since I didn't do that, now I have to put it back together to see if the cam chain is any good or not. So I made a lot of mistakes in this project already, and well, there's no sense in stopping. Just keep on plugging away, put it back together, see what we get. I think I'm going to stop filming as much as I have been, because the editing process is taking way more time than the time I'm spending on the bike. So I'll probably just take a couple shots here and there and throw it together real quick from here on out, since you're the only person watching it anyway. So wish me luck. Okay, valves and springs are back in, but as I was doing that I noticed that there's some gaskets I didn't scrape yet, so I get to do that. Hooray, scraping gaskets is my least favorite part of working on engines. Valves are in, gasket scraped, head is on. I can't bolt down the head because the bolts go through the valve cover. I've got not stator, whatever that, the magnet here, the rotor on, And oh, I thought I had everything at top dead center, but that timing mark isn't pointing where I expected it to be. So this is the problem. I need the timing to line up properly. The timing marks are actually on the case, so I've got to put that stuff on to be able to put the cam in and make sure that it lines up right so that I'm actually firing at top dead center or just before top dead center on compression. So there's a bit more monkeying around before I can even do anything with the top here. Cam chain and bearings on, cam in there. Near as I can tell, it looks like the chain is in okay shape. It doesn't seem to be super out of whack. There's a little bit of slack, but I haven't even put the tensioner in yet. So here's hoping. Head is on. I forgot to scrape that gasket. New seals on the head bolts, on the main bolts there. Time to torque everything down and then put some paper towel down so I can scrape this gasket off without having it get inside the engine now that the engine is closed up enough to have an inside. These big nuts have to be tightened to 25 foot-pounds of torque, and this is one of those situations where I'll have to keep on jumping around because as I tighten each one, the other ones will back off because I'm compressing the... oh, almost dropped my torque wrench. I'm compressing the exhaust springs with the cam as I press everything down. So this was snug before, it's already finger loose, so I'll be going through this sequence a couple of times to make sure everything's tightened up properly. Okay, head is on. I even checked the valves on this side. This one was a little out, so I adjusted it. This one was fine. The gasket's all scraped off. Time to put the clutch cover back on. Oil pump is in here. Now, the problem I have here is this is where the cable for the tack goes, and I don't have a tack for this bike, and I don't intend to put one on, so I'm gonna have to take this chunk of aluminum and make some plug for that on my lathe. So I'm probably not going to tighten everything up too much. I'm just going to put this in place, seal it up, make sure everything fits fine, and then plug that hole with a piece of paper for now, and then get that piece made on the lathe. This is it for today. Between having to make something, a plug to put in there, and then all the little things that have to happen to button the rest of this thing up, I'm kind of over it for the day. So this will be it. I wonder how this video will turn out. Again, if you actually did watch the video, give me a thumbs up if you like it. If you don't, tell me why. And subscribe, share, you know, all that stuff that helps other people see the video too. Thanks. Bye.